Hello dolls and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk about the year 1971. We are fully embracing the 1970s. If you're new here, hi, I'm Emma and I'm on a journey to break down the years 1960 to 1979. I'm talking mainly about the fashion, the music and the film, but also about economics and dabbling into a little bit of world history. So if that sounds right up your alley, make sure to subscribe and also go back and watch all the previous videos where I started in 1960 because a lot has already happened. But right now we just started a new decade. Welcome to 1971. 1971, a year that balanced both reckoning and renewal as the world moved further into the complexities of the 1970s. 1971 was a year of pivotal change and emerging contradictions, where political, cultural, and technological shifts set the stage for the transformative decade ahead. The United States remained embroiled in the Vietnam War, with anti-war protests intensifying and President Nixon's decision to expand the conflict into Cambodia sparking national outrage. At the same time, the country faced growing demands for social justice, as movements for civil rights and women's liberation gained momentum. On the technological front, the introduction of the microprocessor by Intel marked the dawn of the digital age, signaling the beginning of the personal computer revolution. Musically, the landscape was defined by the rise of progressive rock, glam rock, and funk, with artists like David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, and Marvin Gaye pushing boundaries and shaping the sound of the era. Fashion too was evolving, as eclectic individualistic styles emerged, alongside more polished, tailored looks. 1971 was a year of reckoning, innovation, and cultural experimentation, setting the tone for the artistic and social revolutions that would define the 1970s. 1971 was a pivotal year in US politics, marked by significant social and economic shifts. In civil rights, the Swan v. Charlotte Mecklenburg decision mandated busing to desegregated schools, sparking a national debate. At the same time, the women's liberation movement gained strength, pushing for workplace equality and reproductive rights, while the environmental movement called for cleaner air and water. Economically, the US faced rising inflation and the early signs of recession. In response, President Nixon implemented wage and price control to curb inflation. The economic strain was exacerbated by the ongoing Vietnam War, contributing to a trend of stagflation that would continue throughout the decade. On the technological front, the introduction of the microprocessor by Intel marked the beginning of the digital revolution, laying the groundwork for personal computers. Simultaneously, the publication of the Pentagon Papers by the New York Times exposed government deception about the Vietnam War, deepening public distrust in political leaders. In transportation, Amtrak was created to provide intercity passenger train services, attempting to revitalize the declining rail industry and offering an alternative to cars and planes. Together, these events reflected a year of political turbulence and change, setting the stage for a transformative decade. 1971 also opened up two places and businesses that are still really popular. The first one was that the first Starbucks opened at the Pike Place Market in Seattle, Washington, and then also the Walt Disney theme park in Florida opened its doors. I draw out the price development in the United States by comparing the same three products in every single video: the price of a loaf of bread, a movie ticket, and a new house, as well as telling you the average household income to kind of put it all in context. So the average household income in 1971 was around $10,600. A loaf of bread was around 30 cents, a movie ticket would set you back around $1.65, and a new house was somewhere around $25,250. In 1971, about 43% of women in the United States were part of the workforce. Many women were working in clerical, secretarial, and administrative roles, with large numbers also employed in teaching, nursing, and retail. These jobs were often considered female-dominated professions, and the pay in these sectors was generally lower than in male-dominated fields. The gender pay gap in 1971 was significant. On average, women earned about 59 cents for every dollar a man made. This disparity was reflective of broader societal attitudes toward gender roles and the undervaluing of work traditionally performed by women. In 1971, fashion embraced bold and daring statements that reflected the changing social landscape. The miniskirt had reached its peak in height, and the rise of tight-fitting, figure-hugging hot pants marked the first major trend of the 1970s. These shorts were first showcased on Dancers on the BBC's Top of the Pops, and hot pants quickly became a sensation worn by the likes of Lulu, Pants People, and Irish singer Clodagh Rogers, who famously wore a spangled pair during the Eurovision Song Contest. The look was further popularized by Sally Carr, the lead singer of the Scottish band Middle of the Road, who wore them during their hit performance of Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep. While Mary Quant's 1966 mini pants paved the way for shorter styles, it was the form-fitting hot pants of 1971 that truly captured attention, creating a more provocative silhouette. Women's Wear Daily coined the term hot pants in 1970, and the fashion industry responded with an explosion of designs, using stretchy synthetics to accentuate the figure-hugging effect. Though the trend was short-lived, its impact was undeniable, influencing not only fashion but pop culture. Even Southwest Airlines used the look in their flight attendant uniforms, though many considered it a symbol of the era's sometimes questionable taste. I have decided to wear hot pants for my look today. I know you can see them, and I'm going to put up footage right here. And then I'm also wearing these really bold colors and a lot of polyester, as those were super popular in 1971. The hot pants craze kind of faded by the end of 1971, with Life magazine declaring the trend's swift demise. But quickly other trends emerged to take its place. Colorful and bold, the early 1970s favored jewel tones like emerald green, apple green, and bottle green, seen in everything from dresses to trouser suits. Christian Dior's spring and summer haute couture collection showcased a blue polka dot maxi dress, while the green trouser suit, styled with a hip-length tunic, became a key look representing the era's shift toward a more tailored yet still flamboyant styles. In general, the early 1970s reached the height of the bohemian style. Flares, peasant blouses, and flowing maxi dresses dominated, embodying the free-spirited ethos of the time. The year's relaxed, eclectic vibe also reflected a growing desire for individuality and personal expression, challenging traditional standards of beauty and style. 1971 was a year of musical transformation, as the energy of the late 1960s counterculture began to evolve into new sounds and movements. In the rock world, the Rolling Stones released Sticky Fingers, an album that marked a darker, more introspective chapter for the band. Its iconic cover, designed by Andy Warhol, became a defining image of the era. The album's raw tracks like Brown Sugar and Wild Horses captured a more mature, reflective side of the Stones, resonating deeply with a generation grappling with change. Meanwhile, Carole King's Tapestry album dominated the charts, cementing her as a key figure in the singer-songwriter movement. The album, with hits like I Feel the Earth, Move, and It's Too Late, reflected the introspective confessional style that defined much of 1970s music. This year also saw the rise of glam rock, led by David Bowie, who fully embraced his alter ego Ziggy Stardust. Bowie's androgynous persona and theatrical performances brought a new experimental energy to rock, influencing countless artists to come. On the radio, hits like Joy to the World by Three Dog Night and Reason to Believe by Rod Stewart captured the mainstream likes, while softer folk-influenced sounds flourished with artists like James Taylor. The Bee Gees continue to evolve with How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, showcasing their growing influence in pop and soul. The Osmonds' One Bad Apple further solidified the family band pop domination. Quickly interjecting here, the amount of family bands who were super popular throughout the 1970s is insane. There were, as said, the Osmonds, then there were the Carpenters, the Jackson 5, and so many more. I feel like the early 1970s really set off the careers of many famous families. In the early days of punk rock, the Stooges and the New York Dolls planted the seeds for a genre that would soon explode, laying the groundwork for the chaotic energy and rebellious spirit of the mid-1970s. Also influencing the musical landscape in 1971 was T-Rex, led by Mark Bolan, who became a key figure in the glam rock movement with their hit Get It On. The song, with its infectious rhythm and Bolan's charismatic presence, epitomized the glam aesthetic and brought the genre to the forefront of popular music. Together, these artists and movements helped define a year of musical transition, setting the stage for the many innovations and shifts that would come in the following decade. 1971 was a landmark year in cinema, with several films pushing boundaries and defying new genres. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange was one of the most controversial releases of the year, shocking audiences with its brutal depiction of violence, dystopian themes, and provocative imagery. Based on Anthony Burgess's novel, the film followed Alex, a delinquent anti-hero who undergoes controversial aversion therapy to rid himself of violent tendencies. The film's exploration of free will, morality, and societal control polarized audiences and critiques alike, becoming both a cultural touchstone and a lightning rod for debate about violence in film. I do believe that this is a phenomenal film. I know a lot of people don't like it, and it's definitely kind of hard to watch, but I think it is a really, really good one. But the one thing I cannot stop thinking about is how once someone stopped me on a street to tell me I look like that guy from Clockwork Orange when I had some twiggy lashes going on. I just thought that that was hilarious. In contrast, The French Connection, directed by William Friedkin, brought a more grounded, gritty approach to filmmaking. A taut and realistic crime thriller, the film followed two New York City detectives, played by Gene Hackman and Roy Schneider, as they attempt to bust an international drug ring. The film's raw documentary-style approach to storytelling, paired with its iconic car chase scene, made it a major success and set a new standard for the genre. It not only became one of the most influential police procedurals in film history, but also won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Meanwhile, Peter Bogdanovich, The Last Picture Show, emerged as both a cult classic and a critical success, capturing the transition from post-war America to the changing cultural landscape of the 1950s. Set in a small, desolated Texas town, the film followed a group of teenagers as they navigate the struggles of growing up in a world that seemed to be fading away. With its nuanced performances and stark black and white cinematography, The Last Picture Show delved into themes of love, loss, and the inevitability of change. It became a poignant exploration of a dying era and captured the isolation and disillusionment of small-town life. These films, alongside other releases in 1971, marked a shift towards more mature, complex storytelling in Hollywood. The rawness and realism of films like The French Connection contrasted with the intellectual and philosophical provocations of A Clockwork Orange, while The Last Picture Show brought a sense of nostalgia and reflection. Together, they represented the changing tides in cinema, where filmmakers were increasingly willing to confront darker, more controversial topics. In television, 1971 brought a beloved sitcom. The All in the Family sitcom, which debuted in January, confronted social issues head-on with its groundbreaking portrayal of a working-class family and its bigoted patriarch, Archie Bunker. The show became a cultural touchstone, sparking debates over race, gender, and class, while challenging traditional sitcom conventions. So, what does 1971 really add up to? It was a year of significant cultural, political, and social change. Politically, it saw continued civil rights struggles and growing discontent over the Vietnam War, while the economy showed signs of recession and new technologies began to emerge. Socially, more women entered the workforce, and the environmental movement gained momentum. In music, the year marked the rise of glam rock, singer-songwriters, and the early seeds of punk. Artists like Carole King, T-Rex, and David Bowie shaped the sound of the decade. On the big screen, films like A Clockwork Orange and The French Connection pushed boundaries, while cult films like The Last Picture Show captured a shifting cultural landscape. Fashion reflected this cultural shift, with the miniskirt giving way to hot pants and colorful maxi dresses, embodying the era's youthful rebellion. Ultimately, 1971 laid the foundation for the transformations of the 1970s, a time of questioning norms and embracing individuality. It was a year of change that resonated through the following decades. Make sure to come back tomorrow for 1972, the year that brought The Godfather, the Watergate scandal, flares and the peak of bohemian fashion, and David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. So that is it for 1971. That is it for today's video, and it is already almost dark outside, which is insane because it isn't even 3 o'clock yet. But I cannot let you go without trying a cup of tea first. This is chocolate chai. I think they had this last year. I actually think that they just reused the same tea over and over again because this is my 3rd or 4th year in a row, and I'm pretty sure I tried all of these teas before. So I feel like next year I have to go for a different brand. It's good, but my one thing is chocolate with water doesn't go for me. Tell me I'm not the only one. I cannot fathom the thought of preparing hot chocolate with water. I know it's like a thing that a lot of people do. We always do it with milk. I grew up drinking it with milk. I don't like warm milk, but I had it cold. And even now, I can only drink coffee black or with like a significant amount of milk. I cannot do a little milk because if I do just a little bit of milk, it's too watery, but it still has that kind of like milky flavor. And I cannot do that. And that is kind of my issue with this tea. It's chocolatey, but it's lacking the kind of like milkiness of that. if that makes any sense. It is nice and spicy, so I'm wondering whether this prepared as like a hot chocolate would be quite nice. All right, that is it for 1971. I didn't mention this in the video, but I didn't really do my hair because from what I saw, this was the trend, and then I did a really soft yellow eyeshadow and a lot of lashes because that is what I saw on the Vogue covers. I always go off the Vogue covers when researching the year's makeup. I feel like it's a phenomenal source. Just go to Vogue.com and they'll have them there for you. As always, I've probably not covered every single aspect of 1971, so if there's anything you feel like worth adding, leave a comment down below. I'd love to read about it. I hope you have a beautiful day. Go out, enjoy the sunshine, take yourself some time to focus on you and your mental health today, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, dolls!